Harper Audio presents The Devil's Chessboard, Allen Dulles, the CIA, and the Rise of America's Secret Government, by David Talbot. Performed by Peter Altschuler. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The inscription chosen by Allen Dulles for the lobby of CIA headquarters from John 8:31-32. The colonel laughed unpleasantly. My dear friend, Demetrius would have nothing to do with the actual shooting. No, his kind never risk their skins like that. They stay on the fringe of the plot. They are the professionals, the entrepreneurs, the links between the businessmen, the politicians who desire the end but are afraid of the means, and the fanatics, the idealists who are prepared to die for their convictions. The important thing to know about an assassination or an attempted assassination is not who fired the shot, but who paid for the bullet. A Coffin for Demetrius, Eric Ambler. Prologue. That little Kennedy, he thought he was a god. The words were sharp and wrong, like a curse shattering the civility of the soft evening air. They seemed particularly strange coming from the genial old gentleman strolling by Willie Morris's side. In fact, they were the only strident remarks that Morris had heard him utter in the past few days, as the graying spymaster regaled his young visitor with a lifetime of covert adventures. And then the storm passed. The man was himself again, the chatty and amiable Allen Welsh Dulles, a man whose conviviality masked a world of dark secrets. The two men continued their walk on that Indian summer evening in 1965, ambling along the rust-colored brick sidewalks as the lampposts began casting their yellow light on picturesque Georgetown, home of Washington hostesses, martini-loving spies, influential newspapermen, and the assorted insiders who fed off the fizz and sizzle of the nation's capital. Turning the corner from the unassuming two-story brick mansion on Q Street that Dulles rented, they now found themselves on R Street, straddling the vast greenery of the Dumbarton Oaks estate. Dulles, the creator of America's sprawling intelligence empire, had summoned Morris, a rising young editor at Harper's Magazine, to help him set the record straight on the most cutting humiliation of his career. He wanted to write his side of the story about the Bay of Pigs. The words alone still brought a spasm of pain and rage to Dulles's face. It was just a spit of sand and scrubby palms along Cuba's southern coast, but it was the scene in April 1961 of the biggest disaster in the CIA's history. A motley invasion that fell ignominiously short of toppling Cuba's dangerously charismatic leader, Fidel Castro. The failed invasion, Dulles said, was the blackest day of my life. In public, the newly minted president, John F. Kennedy, took responsibility for the fiasco and made gracious remarks about Dulles as he prepared to usher the aging spy out the door after a half-century of public service encompassing 8 different presidencies. But in private, a vicious war had begun between the Kennedy and Dulles camps, with the two men and their advocates working the press and arguing not just the botched mechanics of the invasion, but the past and future of U.S. foreign policy. The Bay of Pigs came after a long string of Dulles victories. Given free rein by President Eisenhower to police the world against any insurgent threat to U.S. dominion, Dulles's CIA overthrew nationalist governments in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East, and even targeted troublesome leaders in allied European countries. Dulles called himself the Secretary of State for Unfriendly Countries, which had an ominous ring when one took...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?